We're just ready to kick things off and dig into it. We always like to start on time and end all on time. Happy spring for those of you who are in a location where you are celebrating spring. Happy spring to you, Monica. I understand it's warm where you're at today.
Oh, yes, it's very warm here. It's in the 80s, and we have the advantage of not having air conditioning that's working. So doors and windows are open, and yeah, we're just
You're
trying to make it
inviting
work.
spring right in. Good
Yes.
job. Good job. We've got quite a few people already on the call, so thanks everyone for showing up. And we're going to dive right into this and talk a little bit about the importance of marketing automation right here, right now. And Monica and I will officially introduce ourselves. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Marie Weiss. I'm the CEO of Marketing Copilot. I'm a Microsoft MVP and AI. And quite simply, I help Microsoft partners and customers build digital selling programs that align sales and marketing and drive revenue. And I know I couldn't do my job without marketing automation. So we're going to talk a little bit about how marketing automation is really the glue that's holding things together in the era of AI and the dramatic uptick in content. We're going to dig into it. But before we do that, I would like my co-host to introduce herself.
Hello, everybody. I'm Monica Ware. I'm the Marketing and Software Sales Director at Mfluence. We are a marketing automation platform that integrates with Dynamics and anything else that's built on Power Platform. And I help everybody in my organization with email marketing, with marketing automation, with what's going on in how we're bringing in people to our company. I've been in the email space since 1999. So I've seen a lot of changes in that space, and marketing automation is the most recent. And then layering on top of that AI, we have just a kind of a powerhouse of email marketing at our fingertips as marketers. So I'm excited to talk about this with Marie, especially.
All right. Thanks so much, Monica. So let's get right into it. Our agenda today, we're going to talk about the digital buyer in 2025, what that's looking like. Gosh, things are speeding up. They seem to be going faster and faster. And every year we seem to be tackling a new problem in B2B marketing. We're going to talk about Dynamics 365 and the ecosystem gap, what is going on out there with tools, why partners need a marketing play, choosing the right marketing automation tool, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A at the end. So I hope you stick through right to the end because we do have some really good content for you today. So let's get into it. The digital buyer. Before I get into it, I would love it if people, the people on the call today, please put stuff in chat. Our good friend and moderator, Maddie Yule from Marketing Copilot, is on the call with us in the back end and moderating. They're going to post some links for us and do some other good stuff for us. So don't hesitate to reach out to Maddie if you want to ask a specific question in chat or ask us something in chat. So yes, now we're going to jump into it, Monica. The digital buyer in 2025 is quite an interesting thing. What would you say if you had to hang your hat on one thing that you found most profound in 2025 about the digital buyer? What would it be?
A lot of choices. There's a lot of noise out there, and it's hard to know, what's going to be right, what's going to make their jobs easier, because at the end of the day, as we've been saying for years, marketers are doing more with less money, less people, but they have more tools at their fingertips. And so trying to really understand what's going to work for them the best.
I like to think about it that I wish I had a time machine. And I wish I could go back to the 1950s and be a marketer in the 1950s when demand outweighed supply. Yeah. There was barely, any choice out there following the Second World War.
Mhm.
And so people knew there was only two manufacturers of refrigerators, and
Right.
knew that they could go look at a newspaper to see the ads for all the latest specials.
Mhm.
There is now so much choice. There's way more supply than we've ever seen. And specifically in the software space, it's a little bit crazy
Yeah.
that we've built so much software. So Marketing Copilot did some analysis in 2023 and 2024 about what was really going on in the buyer journey and what was happening with those digital buyers. We're now seeing numbers from Gartner. 83% of the buyer journey is happening without the support of sales. We've talked to lots and lots and lots of Microsoft partners who say they used to spend a lot of money on Google Ads and an ad spend, and it is not producing any kind of leads, let alone quality leads. And we know that when people hit a website and the only thing you offer them is book a call or a consultation, you're losing about 20% of your traffic without offering them an interim step that allows them to self-serve, self-educate. We've been
Mhm.
talking about this for a long time at Marketing Copilot, and we're finding now that this issue is just getting worse. And we talked a couple of months ago, I think you were part of that conversation, Monica, about SEO kind of getting blown up now in the age of AI. And
Mhm.
so we have to be really, really smart with our web traffic. If we're going to go to the time and effort to drive people to the homepage of our website, if we've brought them in from social media, from an email campaign, from anywhere, we have to be really, really smart about how we're picking up that traffic. So I know we probably want to talk a little bit about some of those things. But the digital buyer, and I think you'd agree, you've been at this for a while, as have I, Monica, that it's
Yeah.
really about building trust.
Yeah.
If
Yep.
we can't build trust, we're not going to get anywhere. And so we like to say that trust is familiarity. And Monica, what would you say? Some of the customers that Enfluence has been supporting, has the email play gone up? The amount of email? How do you get this familiarity or this value, longevity, consistency? How do you do that? How do you build that?
So for me, it's not just being on one channel, and that's the problem. And in fact, on your last slide mentioning the fact that people aren't coming in from paid advertising, it's not just, you can't rely on only paid advertising or only email or only SEO. You really have to be able to, and again, we're doing so much more. And we have to be able to be on the key channels where our buyers are and know what those key channels are. And making sure that the message that you are sending across those channels are consistent in every single way. Now, email sounds a little bit different than PPC. Email sounds a little bit different than SEO. Email sounds a little bit different than, your social media channels, only because of the length that you can use, or maybe the tone is just a little bit more formal than something on social media or whatever it might be. But you really need to be on all of them. And again, all of them is, you have to understand which ones you need to be on. If your audience isn't on TikTok, don't spend your time on TikTok. If your audience isn't on LinkedIn, don't spend your time on LinkedIn. However, email, paid, and SEO are the core. You have to be on those channels. And then the rest, it depends on who your audience is.
We like to talk about owned, rented, and paid, right? Owned, the channels I can own. That's email. That's your website.
Yep.
Rented, being on social media, YouTube, where you participate, but you don't own that list. You don't own that platform. And paid, where you're paying to play. And I think you would agree that the buyer today is very jaded about paid. I don't know about you, but I go past the first, 3 or 4 search results in search. It says sponsored. I don't even click on those.
Yep.
So I think we need to build familiarity. We need to build value, that sort of give to get. We can't just be spamming people. We have to keep at it. This is what frustrates a lot of Microsoft partners and small business owners. It's something you have to keep at, and you have to be consistent. So I think those are the things that, good marketers know. The new sales pyramid today at Marketing Copilot, we like to say it's not a funnel anymore. It's a pyramid. You have to build the base of that pyramid on a unique and differentiated value proposition that you're repeating over and over again in social, PR, influencer, SEO, wherever you happen to be putting content out. You have to share value-added content that hopefully people will share, that people will download. You want to get them into a lead generation and lead nurturing workflow because you want to get that email address. You're going to qualify it with really good content using your marketing automation tool. You want to start that dialogue. And then after you've done all this heavy lifting, that's when you pass a lead to sales. And that's when hopefully you close a lead. So you see that base is putting more and more effort onto the marketing professional today, more and more responsibility on the marketing professional. We can't do our job without the right tool set. We can't do our job without the right set of data and information. We're going to talk about why that means marketing automation. And that means your customers. So if you're out there selling Dynamics 365, if you're out there showing them how to set up a CRM, you need to be having a marketing conversation. Just today, I talked to a Dynamics CRM partner and I said, "Are you selling marketing automation?" "No, I don't really get asked for that very much." And I said, "Well, how is that not part of the conversation when you're discussing CRM?" And they agreed. We don't really know how to sell it. We don't know how to talk about it. Yeah. So this chart right here, this is the moneymaker. If you're a Microsoft partner, if you're anybody selling CRM, really, this is what I say is the moneymaker. When you put a chart like this in front of your customer, as you're discussing CRM, as you're discussing how to put data into the CRM system, you need to decide what happens with a new prospect. What happens with a new email address? And you have different selection criteria around how you're going to qualify that. You're going to identify the best approach about how to target them. You're going to start to build a contact list. You're going to create points of conversion to decide, are they ready to go into your sales dialogue? But so much work and heavy lifting has to get done before we hand that off as an SQL to the marketing team, before we start putting a whole bunch of information into the CRM that might not necessarily be good data. So all this work has to get done, and you sure don't want to do this work manually. There is absolutely no reason to be doing it manually today, and you don't want to drive yourself crazy. So this is where, if you're selling CRM, you're using CRM, you want to document this in your organization. This is how you have the conversation with sales team. What's the definition of a lead? Where does information come in? How long do we have to nurture that before we decide it's worthy of chasing from a sales perspective? And all of this maps the framework for how and when you want to use marketing automation and how and when you want to use CRM. I like to say the difference between marketing automation and CRM is, in a customer relationship management system, we've identified a company and we've identified contact people at that company, and we've put the information into the system. Marketing automation allows us to not know who people are yet. Marketing automation allows us to do things from an inbound and an outbound perspective. We don't know who they are, but we want to capture an email address and qualify them. Whereas in our CRM, we want to capture an account because they're well in the sales dialogue. And that's the difference. And I think that's a very simple way to look at it as we're going out to speak to our customers about this, or as we're thinking about choosing it for ourselves. Let's get right into it. A lot of people on this call are going to be from within the Dynamics 365 ecosystem. Let's talk about the gap going on right now. So a lot of small and medium-sized businesses, and I think the statistics right now is that 75% of customers within the Microsoft ecosystem are designated as small and medium-sized businesses, and they're unmanaged, meaning they don't have active account managers at the Microsoft level. So that's the opportunity for partners. That's the opportunity for technology vendors. But they're under pressure to modernize. They have limited time, budget, marketing resources. They've got fragmented tools. You've seen this, Monica. You've probably seen a whole bunch of tools that people are using. They need more rudimentary email marketing without paying enterprise level pricing. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because, well, and also part of the problem with these tools, these fragmented tools, is either they don't talk to each other, or even if they do talk to each other, they're paying for the farm and they really just need the barn. They just need somewhere.
That's a great way to put
their
it.
horses. They don't need somewhere that the horses can run because they've got that already.
Right.
Or they just aren't ready as an organization because they're smaller. And so why pay for all of that acreage when really you really need one building on that? And so I think that, I mean, as we said, people are doing more with less. We really need to hyper focus on what are the essential things that we need in order to get our job done, and make sure we're not paying extra for it, because again, that budget is limited.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about why, if you're running Dynamics 365 and you're using it as your CRM, or maybe you're out selling it as a Microsoft partner, why is integration with Dynamics 365 key? Why is it the key? A lot of technology solution providers will talk about unified data across the view, across sales and marketing.
Yep.
Do you want to jump into some of these topics?
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is that unified data is so important. You and I talk about customer journey a lot. And if you don't have all of the data in both your CRM and your marketing automation platform, there's a breakdown of communication between all of these teams. Because when somebody's moving through that journey, marketing has to put that information somewhere. And that information, once they become a sales qualified lead, sales wants to know what did this person consume? And if your marketing automation platform and your CRM don't talk to each other, they're not going to know. And they're going to send them the same thing. And then they're going to lose the lead because the lead says, your marketing and sales team don't talk to each other. I already consumed this content. I'm ready for the next thing. I'm ready to see case studies. I'm ready to see testimonials, or I'm ready for whatever the next thing is in their journey. And then the beautiful thing about having both of these systems together is that when they do move on and become a actual paying customer, then your customer success team has all of the data, has all of the information that you've gathered over every stage of the journey up to that point. So you can target better throughout each stage. You can do that lead scoring, which is super important because you know every single piece of content, every web page that they visited, all of the information. Conversations. Did you have a conversation with somebody and learn about their 11-year-old kid, or the fact that they like vanilla ice cream versus chocolate ice cream? All of that information can live in marketing platform and CRM, and that information can go from one person to the next without having to actually physically have a conversation, which we know our time is just so valuable these days. So how do we make that easier?
I think, people will say, well, why do I need both? Why can't I just do all this in my CRM? And I think there's a lot of things that CRMs are not built to do and can't do. They can't, help us track landing pages. They can't help us track what was going on in the website. You're absolutely right about all those things. And I think a CMO I used to work with said it best when they said, I know 50% of my marketing budget is working. I just don't know which 50%. So if you really wanted to double down on a certain program, if you don't have marketing automation, you aren't going to know what is actually working. And not only that, if you don't have it integrated to your CRM, you won't actually know what drove revenue. And I think marketers today are under immense pressure to be able to pinpoint what's driving revenue and what create a sales qualified lead. So I think this is why integration is key. I think we've known this for a long time, but we're now really starting to see how this comes together. The marketing gap in the Microsoft stack has been much discussed. We're not talking at a school here. We're not saying anything that lots and lots and lots and lots of people have not been discussing over the past few years. Microsoft offers world-class tools. There's so many products that are great, but when it comes to marketing automation, there's a clear gap. There's a great enterprise solution. There's a great enterprise solution when you're dealing with tons of personas, tons of data, probably more of a business to consumer type of company. But for small and medium-sized businesses, they just don't have great options. Solutions either fall short, they're either too expensive, or they don't integrate well. So what we know people really want is marketing process functionality, not just the gathering of information, but show me how to quickly set up a workflow. Show me how to quickly improve engagement on an email campaign. Show me how to get those landing pages set up. Show me how to automate a sequence once somebody downloads something. Show me how to segment. They want easy integration into Dynamics 365 because let's be honest, one of the beautiful things about Dynamics 365 is that it can do so much, but it has to be customized. It's so secure in the way it's structured. That means not every product is going to be easily able to integrate, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing I know a lot of people are frustrating about is pricing. It is so complicated to figure out pricing.
And to be able to do a comparison across, like if you're shopping, there's no way to do a comparison because everybody's pricing is so different.
Right. But here's the kicker, and I think you would agree with this one. We've worked in the channel for over 10 years. We've worked with partners implementing CRM, and they come to us and say, help our customers implement marketing automation. And we've seen products yanked out because fundamentally the marketing team can't use them. They are not easy to use. They're not user-friendly. They take 3 weeks to set something up when it should really take about 20 minutes. So I think ease of use is becoming something that we have to talk about a lot more. I think the opportunity for Microsoft partners is to be able to bring your customer a tool that meets their marketing needs without a huge enterprise price tag. And I think, as always, when you're selling solutions and you're learning, we did a lot of training for Microsoft partners to train them how to sell Dynamics. Let's say they were starting out as a Modern Work or an Azure play, and they didn't necessarily know how to sell some of these bigger solutions. Your ultimate goal is to be a trusted advisor when you go into an organization, to be seen as somebody who's not just trying to sell licenses, somebody who's really trying to understand a customer's business and figure out the right thing. So I think being able to sell the full sales and marketing suite, not just sales, is really important. I think being able to add a recurring revenue stream through a managed service is really important. And I think you would agree, wouldn't you, Monica, that you want to be able to offer this end-to-end solution around CRM, marketing, and data? Because if you're not, you're leaving half the story at the door.
Yeah. And again, you're creating these fractured teams that can't get their job done, or it takes them longer to get their job done because they don't have all of the information at their fingertips.
Absolutely. So partners need a marketing play. I think in this day and age, I even think 5 years ago, we couldn't have had this conversation. People would have said, I don't know. Is it really necessary? It's kind of the last thing. I always used to like to joke in organizations when there was downsizing, the first two departments to get fired were HR and marketing because they were seen as cost centers, not revenue centers. I think a lot of people have started to realize that, marketing needs to be a revenue center, but you can't do it without the right tools. Right. But I also think that the world has really sped up. The pandemic made us all become digital natives overnight. AI is forcing us into a play where I think we're having to think about these things in a much different way. So I think all partners today need a marketing play as part of their dynamic solution. Would you agree with that, Monica?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, because if you're not, you're leaving money on the table, and you're not providing a full service for all of your customers.
So I'm sure you've heard this before. This is definitely the pitch that ISVs make to Microsoft partners is you want to be able to unlock new revenue streams. You want to solve real pain. You want to stand out in a crowded market. I think the time is now to adopt marketing automation because I don't see a lot of partners doing it. I see a lot of partners struggling because marketing, more than any other function in the organization, is not just about technology. It's about process. It's about trial and error. It's about testing. That's not necessarily what we're doing in other technology related parts of the business or operations. So maybe that's why. Can you, I know you've been around the channel as well for a while. Why do you think partners have a hard time embracing the idea to add marketing automation to their portfolio?
Yeah, I think that it is a little bit of a black box. All partners aren't necessarily marketers. They're there to help their customers solve a pain point. And that pain point might not be marketing. A lot of the time these partners are talking to the sales team because they know that it's a Dynamics 365. It's going to help the sales team. It's going to help the IT department, or that they're talking to the IT department and they're not talking about the marketing to the marketing folks. And so, marketing sometimes in these conversations gets left out in the cold and doesn't become part of that conversation. And when you put all of those things together, the IT department, the sales department, the marketing department, you realize that, we are missing a key piece to this puzzle, to this journey for these people that we're trying to bring in. And we need to make sure that we're including the marketing team on these conversations.
Right. So, we'll go through each one of these. A lot of times partners will go in and it's a one-time project. But you could really evolve to recurring revenue if you're adding a full solution.
Mm-hmm.
It's licensing you can be reselling, you can get new revenue, and I think you build much better long-term client relationships with higher retention value when you've got the full stack. You've got the full suite of products. I think it's really helping solve a pain point for clients. You've already said it. And, small and medium-sized businesses struggle with fragmented tools or in sometimes no marketing at all.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to sit down and try to work out a complex tool and complex solution. They just want to get going and get emails out the door and start engaging with people. And that's where we see existing solutions are just too complex. And it is important to have a simple integrated platform. As I said, I think you can really stand out as a Dynamics partner if you're adding marketing automation to your solution. And we think that there's some really great opportunities for products like Enfluence that have native integration to Dynamics 365 to be able to bring these kinds of solutions at the SMB side of the business. So let's get to the meat of it. Let's get to the nut of it. Choosing the right tool. How do you choose the right tool? I've said this already. CRM is not marketing automation. So for those people on the call today, could you just throw in the chat really quickly? We won't do a poll, but if you could just throw in the chat really quickly, are you using a marketing automation tool? Yes or no? Do you have a marketing automation tool in play for your own business? Okay. Just throw it in there. Yes or no, if you don't mind. Don't be shy. Get your answers in. because we've got some really fabulous parting gifts for those people who answer our question today. So I think companies are going to struggle with sales and marketing alignment because they don't understand why they need both. But I made the point earlier in our session, CRM is not marketing automation. There are so many things your CRM can't do. That's why you need to augment it. This is, I think, the bottom line we can all agree with, we can all get behind. SMB companies need to adopt marketing automation or they're going to cease to exist in 5 years because they won't understand how to nurture leads at that middle of the funnel. They won't understand where their leads are coming from. They won't understand how to increase engagement. It's not just technology, it's sales strategy and process, and you need to think of it that way. I joke about this. I've been in marketing, business to business marketing for 30 years. And I've never been in a company where sales and marketing haven't fought with each other about whose responsibility it is to do what. All of that conversation disappears when you have a good marketing automation solution. Because if you have a good plan, and we always tell people, make sure you have a good plan before you adopt MA. But if you have a good plan, you're going to succeed. You're going to win. You're going to have a plan. It's going to get implemented in the tool, and you're going to be able to see how it's adding benefit to your business. Value of marketing automation is that, quite simply, it ensures that as a business, you're not leaving money on the table. Remember, I talked about that 20%, the 20% that hits your website. And if they can't do anything other than book a call with you, they're not going to do it. Less than 1% of your website traffic will actually convert on that conversion point. You put a lead magnet in, tied to a landing page, automated in your marketing automation. Somebody downloads it because they like the offer, they like the content, they like the value. You put them into a workflow. All of that is getting automated and it's getting tracked. And you find out nobody engaged on the workflow. That's okay. Now you know what content doesn't work. You know how to switch it up. You now are able to track by lead source. You're now able to use your marketing spend in a more impactful way. You know, the thing that I've always been frustrated about in marketing, Monica, and I'm sure you have as well, is that a lot of people guess. They hang their hat out there as a marketing professional. They're guessing. Oh, well, marketing's easy. Anyone can do it. Anybody can write an email campaign. Anybody can write a landing page on a website. Well, guess what? It's not easy. And the reason it's not easy because the psychology of human beings and the psychology of the buyer is difficult to get behind. And it makes it 10 times harder if all we're doing is guessing and we're not tracking and measuring what we're doing.
Right. I tell people, anybody who's interested in getting into marketing, I was like, you better like math, because if you don't like math, you are not going to do well in marketing.
That's right. And the other thing I tell people is not only you better like math, but you better like failing. You better not be afraid to fail, because you're going to have to test a whack of things, because buyer behavior is fickle.
It is.
It changes constantly. And what worked last month might not even work next month. Yeah.
And what works at one company doesn't work at another company.
Absolutely.
So it's really hard. It's not for the faint of heart.
It isn't. You got to have tough skin. And you better be prepared to look your CFO in the eye when they say, what's my ROI on marketing? When your CFO asks that question, if you don't have a marketing automation system, you're not going to be able to answer them. Yeah. I don't know. So I think that those are really important things to take into consideration. Okay. This is a horrible chart. You're not going to be able to read it. I've broken my rules of PowerPoint slides, but that's why we're giving you a QR code and we're inviting you to download this. Marketing Copilot, the team at Marketing Copilot has done a comparison chart here for the products that we see in the market right now that Microsoft partners are either using or selling to their customer base or see their customer base using when they show up to do a CRM implementation. So we've got HubSpot, Enfluence, Customer Insights, which is the marketing, the Microsoft product, Zoho, MailChimp. We've given them all a very honest rating with respect to strategic consideration, ability to integrate to Dynamics, ideal company and list size, cost and pricing, and where we think the rating is. All right. So we see some really strong tools every day. The Marketing Copilot team uses them. And I want to thank Monica and the team at Enfluence for being brave and helping us, because, it's not easy sometimes to say, well, here's where my product stacks up. But we're being completely honest because we've used all these tools. We've used all these tools in front of Dynamics, and we know what works and doesn't work. But here's the other slide that we've put in here for you today. We would invite you to download the guide, Why Microsoft Partners Should Add Marketing Automation to Their Portfolio. Very helpful guide that has been developed at Enfluence, and I think really helps Microsoft partners figure out how they would add this to their solution, how they would sell it. But you know what? I think it's even going to help you as a partner if you're not already using a marketing automation tool. If you're a CRM customer, Dynamics 365 CRM, this is really going to help you. And I think this is great because one of the next things we're going to be doing is looking at how to price these things. Because as Monica and I have learned the very hard way, I'm going to put the slide back up. What we've learned the very hard way is that pricing these things out is confusing. Especially if you were looking at Customer Insights from Microsoft. It is so confusing. And I don't think the value is there for small and medium-sized business based on the pricing. Would you agree with that, Monica?
Oh, yeah. It's definitely cost prohibitive for that, especially that mid-size. I mean, some small businesses shouldn't even be on their list. You're just going to spend so much money. Again, you're going to buy the farm when all you need is that barn for your horse. And so, make sure that, and I think that's what's important is there are, as I said at the beginning, there's so many tools out there. It's really difficult to understand and know exactly what features and what things you are going to use as an end user. And from the marketing or from a partner perspective, being able to answer that question for your customer and say, hey, we know your business. We see how you're using CRM now. We know what your marketing team is doing. And we think that this tool will be a complement to what we've already implemented at your organization. So really from a partner perspective, helping that end customer answer those questions so that they don't have to go out there and do all the research. You already have everything at your fingertips and all the answers. Understanding these tools and knowing which tool will be the best option for them.
I'm going to throw it open to our audience. If there's any questions, I invite you to throw them in the chat right now. We love taking questions from people. And, I think this thing called marketing is ever changing, ever evolving. It's a living entity in our organization. It's a living beast. And I think that really getting a handle on marketing automation is where a lot of partners will win. I think a lot of people in the channel will win. Even if you're an end customer using Dynamics 365 CRM, I think, you'll win with the right marketing automation tool and the right fit. Do we have any customers? Do we have any questions from people? Don't hesitate to throw them in if you have specific questions. Hopefully we've answered all the hard questions, but who knows? Throw those in there. I've got a question for you. Monica, where are we going to see the Influence team next? Where can we come and meet with you face to face if we want to get more inside intel?
Well, we're going to see you also at Dynamics Con in May, which is, I was just realizing it's just like 2 weeks from now.
I know, just around the corner.
Yes. Yeah. It's going to be a great time. The partner marketing event ahead of time is going to be fantastic. And we're going to talk, I'm going to be talking a lot about email. And then the event afterwards, all in Chicago. I hear the venue is perfect. I hear it's amazing. I'm super excited to see it.
Yeah, I'm excited too. So you can meet with either one of us in Chicago at Dynamics Con. If you're coming to Dynamics Con, great meeting for customers, partners, ISVs. We have one interesting question here, and I think, yeah, this was a tough question we didn't answer. So how does marketing automation fit into the conversation around a lot of businesses thinking they can do marketing themselves using AI? I love that question. I do get that question all the time, and I think that's a great question.
You know, I'm working with a really small team in this role at Influence, and I use AI. AI is part of my day-to-day, but it does not replace, you know, a whole person or especially not an entire team. AI is not perfect. And if you don't have the tools and the resources and the time and the energy to double check everything that you're getting out of AI, it's not going to work for you. You need to be able to have that marketing expertise to know and be able to call out what's wrong in what the AI is telling you.
I think the way I like to look at it, and I just learned a new term recently, and I'm going to share 2 terms recently that I hadn't thought of it in this way. But what I would say is a lot of tools now are in the marketing automation space are being augmented with AI functionality. And I think augmenting your content production process with AI, or maybe even at the front end of augmenting your strategy with AI around what should the conversion plan look like and those kinds of things. There's some cool things you can do, but here's the bottom line. AI can't track, measure, and analyze whether or not a campaign worked well. It can speed up the process around content development, but you still need marketing automation to track and measure everything.
Right.
So recently, somebody said, you know, there's a difference between purpose-built AI and generic AI. So generic AI would be your Chat GPT tools. Purpose-built AI would be more like your Copilot product, where you can take Copilot and build a Copilot agent on top of something to augment a specific process or functionality in your organization. So that's very purpose-built. And I think what's interesting about marketing automation is it's purpose-built for your business, and you can't replace that with generic AI. There's some, like you said, there's some places I love that sales teams are using Copilot to do notes and get better information into the CRM. We can now pull that information out of the CRM around questions that get asked and how we respond to things, and we can use it from a content perspective. But I still need to set things up somewhere. I still need that owned real estate online.
Right.
And I need to be able to do that in marketing automation. So that's a great question. Another question we got, would you recommend developing a marketing automation system within a Microsoft tenant using Power Automate for a small business with a skilled development team? Can this be considered a future-oriented investment, assuming Microsoft will eventually address the gap? Ray, this is a great question. And just recently, I was at Directions and I saw somebody give a demo of using Business Central as a CRM. And I have to be very, very, very honest. Somebody had done the work, skilled development team to turn Business Central into a CRM. And guess what? It's not. These tools, when they're purpose-built, need to be built from the ground floor up of this is what the person is trying to achieve. Therefore, we're going to build the functionality around what they're trying to achieve and the tools they need to achieve it. Unfortunately, with a lot of the products, and while Microsoft does an amazing job of building something that can look a million different ways and be a million different things, and let's be fair, we wouldn't exist in the channel if there wasn't an opportunity for us as business leaders to bring thought leadership or technical people to bring the skilled development. But I don't think we live in an era anymore where we can build technology and then figure out how to apply it. Things are moving too fast. You need purpose-built solutions that come from the perspective of the person using it. And I haven't seen a lot of successful Power Automate implementations just on top of Dynamics as an example, because there's a whole bunch of things that Dynamics can't do, and you'd spend hours and years building it in Power Automate. So just recently, a partner came to me, asked the exact same question. And I said, well, you're going to have to go back and ask your team, how long will it take to build this? How long will it take your team to not just build it? Who's going to manage it? Who's going to update it? How is it going to get upgraded? What if the person who built it leaves? All the same questions we've always asked in technology. They went back and spoke to their team. They came back and said, this is ridiculous. We could be up and running on a tool like Mfluence in 3 days. Why would we do this?
Well, and
speed to market is important.
Speed to market is important. And also, we have relationships with the ISPs. That doesn't come from a Power Automate or a software that you build. It comes from years of experience and conversations. And so if you're not landing in the inbox in Yahoo, or you're getting spam complaints from Yahoo, we have the capability and the contacts to reach out to Yahoo and say, why is this customer not landing in this inbox? And we set up all of the everything that you need behind the scenes, which you can't do. We warm your IPs, we set up all of the security measures, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That doesn't come from just building a software. That comes from actual people and knowing kind of the email industry.
Hope you're okay with that answer, Ray, but I think you'll see Monica and I both have pretty strong opinions. And I have to say, email deliverability, I've been paying attention to this for 20 years. I used to, be a very strong constant contact supporter before we had more advanced tools. And email deliverability is so important, which is another reason why we can't be emailing out of Outlook.
Yeah.
Or we can't be emailing out of our CRM.
Yeah.
We need that. So thank you. That's a great answer. Thank you so much, Monica. This conversation has been fantastic. Don't forget to download our marketing automation tool comparison chart. Very important if you're considering what to add, even if you're a customer, if you're a partner, if you're another ISV using Dynamics, please do that. Please reach out to us on LinkedIn. And don't forget to get the guide and great.
And come to DynamicsCon. Let's have a conversation.
To DynamicsCon. Come see us at DynamicsCon, and everybody on the call today. And even if you registered but weren't able to make it, we'll be receiving a link to the audio recording. And we hope, if we don't see you at DynamicsCon, we hope to see you somewhere out there in the channel. And please talk to us about marketing automation. It is a way of the future. Thank you so much. And
thank you, Marie.
As always, we like to start on time and end on time, or give you some minutes back in your day. Have a great spring, Monica. And thank you to everybody who attended today. Hope we see you soon.